Hey, everybody, thank you so much for hopping in. As always, it's a great pleasure to be able to share with you people who are important to me in my life because they've impacted my life. And if they've impacted my life, they changed who I am and inevitably will change you. So why not bring the two together? Today, we are having the wonderful pleasure of getting together and visiting with M.L.Ruscsak. She tried punching me, like literally punched through a board to hit me at an amazing mastermind event with Jim Lutz. It was awesome. I still have the boards to prove it here at the house. But I wanted to share her with you because she has lived an amazing life. And what many people see as hard and trials, she turned into something amazing. So, with that, Melissa, tell us a little bit about you. What makes you special?
Well, let's go back to 2011 because this is where everything starts, really. I'm in my first marriage. I'm working a job that doesn't feel right to me. My marriage is failing. I don't know why it's failing. I'm doing what I can. My job is frustrating. My daughter's 7 years old at this point. She's autistic, so she's at the capacity of maybe two. So I have a 7-year-old toddler. I'm sorry, it's funny, but it's not. And I'm starting to get sick. Well, 2010, I just had a miscarriage and I lost my twins. So am I being punished because I lost the twins? I don't know what's going on. My faith in humanity is going away because we just witnessed a murder right across the street. And there's a lot of things going on. I started getting more and more sick. End up from January to June, I went from about 120 pounds, nice and healthy, to about 90 pounds. Now, anyone that knows if you're 28 years old, you shouldn't weigh 90 pounds. My grandmother, love her, she fought with the doctors to get me in there to do testing because something's majorly wrong. Mm-hmm. Found out I have something in my brain that's bleeding. It needs immediate surgery. Get life flighted to another hospital. Oh no, you're fine. You can wait about 2 weeks. You don't need to make immediate surgery. 3 days later, I have a stroke. That's my first stroke.
Yep.
Yeah, the doctor that was going to do the surgery decided instead of doing the surgery or referring me to a different doctor, he was going to go out of the country for 2 weeks.
Great.
Yeah, so I have that stroke. During the surgery, they do the craniotomy, remove part of my head, literally. Yep. Leave a loose screw in there. So my uncle, until the day he passes, calls me screw loose.
At least you have medical reason for it. I was just born this way.
So, love my uncle until the day he passed. I was called Screw Loose. He was the only one that was ever allowed to call me that. He will only be the only one that's allowed to call me that. Have another stroke during the surgery. So now I'm partly paralyzed. I'm partly blind. My husband, I found out, is cheating on me while I'm in the hospital. So 11 days after I get out of ICU, I'm kind of fast-tracking a little bit. Mm-hmm. I'm filing for divorce. I can't speak English at this point. I speak in Romanian. I have foreign accent syndrome, like the 60s, some person in the world that be classified. So I'm speaking Romanian, trying to file for divorce, having seizures, and had 2 strokes. 2011 is not my year. Wow. At all. So we're going through that. Until 2012, I'm depressed. I'm divorced. I have an 8-year-old autistic child that has digressed to the age of 1. If you know autism, they progress and they degress. Under times of stress and chaos, they get worse. Mm-hmm. At this point, we don't know if she has autism. We don't know what's going on. It's actually diagnosed a few years later. But I get into a relationship with someone that's disabled, is a veteran. Yay, I love my veterans. My grandfather was a veteran. My dad's a veteran. My other grandfather is a veteran. I have lots of veterans in my family. I can handle that. And he will be empathetic that I'm disabled. I have a autistic child, and he will take me as I am. No, that didn't happen. Now enter an abusive relationship, 2 hours away from my family, in seclusion with an autistic child that is getting worse instead of better. But at the same time, he challenges me. I bet you can't write a book. Okay, I'm just relearning how to walk. Sure, I will write a book. I will get it published because he said I can't do it. I won't use the words that he used because they're negative, and I'm not going to go there. I won't talk to myself like he did. But I wrote my first book, got it published, went through 3 publishers before creating my own publishing company. Now, 96 books later, sorry, I lost count, just a little bit. I have my own publishing house. We have over 300 titles in the publishing house. Going to the Ottawa Book Fair, and I'm in South Carolina today, getting ready to do 2 days of networking. One with Daniel Andrews from the Jim Lutz Mastermind, and then I'm meeting his network for some of them at the refinery in Charleston later today.
Okay.
None of this would have happened if I didn't say, you know what, I'm done. I'm going to do something that I'm being told I can't do. I know I can do it. What do I need to do to get? I know what I want. I know I want my publishing house. I know I want my books. I know I want to help authors because I don't want the authors that I'm helping to go through the negative experiences I was. I know I want to help women so they don't do what I did and go from one bad relationship to a very negative relationship. And I want to get my daughter back to being at least the age of 10. For me, that's a big ask at this point in 2016. I had to fight. I had to close down my first publishing house because it was created in negativity. I was doing it, one, for the wrong reasons. I was doing it because I'm going to show you I can, and I'm going to do it, and I'm not going to ask for help. And it collapsed.
Yeah, spite isn't the best motivator.
No, it's not. It's really not. But I knew what I wanted. I knew what I wanted. I could see it. I still see it. I'm getting there. My radio show that I got drafted to started because something miraculous happened during my 3rd book. I'm out in Vegas for whatever, doing a pop-up podcast because what else can I do? I don't have money. I have to eat, but I don't have money to feed myself. I'm not telling people this in 2017, but I'm doing pop-up podcasts, and a radio show heard me do one and drafted me to be one of the hosts on their radio show for Atlanta Mix 108. And I joke around because it's Atlanta. I'm a little white girl, for those of you just listening. I have no demographics that resemble most of Atlanta. And my mentor found me because he actually said he had to come on my show to see what this little white girl's doing down in Atlanta. That's the reason why I connected with my mentor. And he has been growing me since 2017 to where I am today. I now work in his company, and he works on the board of my company. So we switch, but at the same time, it's profitable for both of us. I keep him in line because in 2020, when the world went into chaos, I said, okay, Daddy's getting sick. Daddy's going to pass soon. And the one thing he wanted was for me to get my law degree. Well, okay. We're in 2020. We're in lockdown. Daddy's getting ready to pass. I have nothing but time and a computer. Do you know getting a certification in law costs $99 per certificate.
Really?
Really,
$99 for certification in the law
per class.
per class. Okay.
Yes, per class. So
I was thinking there was a whole lot of lawyers just got really mad.
Well, I'm not getting my degree yet. I'm getting my certifications.
Okay.
Okay. So because I don't have $100,000+ to get a law degree, but I have $100 I can take a class. So I take constitutional law. That's the first class I take. Went from constitutional law into government law, into financial law, into justice, into international law, and several different things. And each week, I was doing 6-week courses in a week. No. And passing with a 94 average. That's like not heard of.
Yeah, that's nice.
That's really nice. So each week I was going to go visit my dad because he had stage 4 lung cancer. And he couldn't see at this point. He was almost blind, but I was giving him a certificate each week. Daddy, I passed this class. Here's the certificate. So the best thing in my life right there was he was smiling. I will never forget that. Yeah.
What was it about that made you go, I will never forget that?
The last time I see my dad, he was smiling. Sorry, I get emotional.
Never apologize. Everybody ends up raw with me.
But that was the last time I seen him. But then I'm like, okay, I have all these degrees now. What am I doing with the information or certifications? I still can't afford my degrees. I can afford the certificates, and I have all this knowledge. So I took all the knowledge that first book I wrote, I was like, okay, I have the knowledge in constitutional law. I'm going to tick off with the 2020 election stuff. So I wrote a very snarky book, very informative, that's called The Constitution for Politicians.
Ooh.
It's very snarky. It takes the Constitution by line, breaks it down so a 5-year-old can understand it. Like, it takes the real legal side, then it takes the 5-year-old, then it finds funny historical things that actually happened in relation to whatever part of the Constitution we're looking at. It's very snarky. I have yet to send it to the politicians in DC. I really want to. Just for the sheer fact that someone there has to read the Constitution. I don't care if you're red, blue, white, I don't care. You need to read it.
Right. And that's what I think a lot of people don't realize is that when it comes in, somebody has to read everything that comes in. A person has to read it. So if you just want to be heard, that's where you send it. Because someone will read what you write.
Exactly. It doesn't matter who. It takes you have to have the marketing budget to do this because books aren't free. But if you want something to be read, you have to send it to Congress. Just send it to all 214, people plus. It'll be okay. Someone there will reach out. And then it's great marketing tool because then you get a letter back, good or bad. It would say, thank you. Maybe we can't do anything about it, but you'll get a certified letter. And you can put with your book.
Yeah, and then you could go out there and be like, hey, in my letter communication with Senator.
Exactly. But I haven't gotten to that yet, but that's coming. But then I started doing for all my law certificates. I have all this knowledge now. And I'm like, this is common knowledge stuff. This is stuff people actually need to know to succeed.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you're running business, you should know financial law. Guess who knows financial law? Financial law attorneys, the SEC attorneys, and maybe your accountant. That's it. Well, business owners actually need to learn some of this, but they're not going to go through 6 weeks of schooling to learn something that they don't think they need. Right? But there's a book out there that says, here's law, finance for business owners. Okay, so what else am I doing? Well, now we can break that down a little bit. And how is building wealth using laws to help you build your wealth come into play? That's where the Lexicon Academy started. Empowering people to build your personal wealth. Okay. But something also great happened from this. I got contacted by another speaker. You are a mindset coach, which I am. I started off as a mindset coach because I don't need coaching, but I learned how to do it. Well, while you're learning how to do it, you're teaching yourself everything to go through it. You can't teach what you don't know. So I don't need a coach, but I'm coaching myself. And now I have clients, and then I fired all my clients. Like, I'm horrible. I fired every single one of my clients that I had because I got tired. I'm giving you advice, but you're not following it. Good. Guess what? They weren't following my advice. I wasn't following my advice.
You weren't doing it. Yep.
So so I stopped, paused, fired all my clients, every single one, and had to follow my own advice. You know what happened when I followed my own advice? I got invited to speak at Jim Lute's mastermind. I got invited to speak at Kisa Goodman's yacht mastermind. I got invited to speak in Puerto Rico. I got invited to speak in Australia. I got invited to speak in Hong Kong. I got invited to speak in Belgium. Because I changed one thing. I started actually practicing what I preach, and it works.
What was the one thing that you'd said, hey, wait, you know what? I'm not doing this. This is what I need to shift. This is the one main thing I need to shift that started opening up those doors and opportunities for you.
I fell in love in 2020. And my mindset was, I can't be with him because I don't deserve him. But he wasn't going away. Like, he would not go away. And this is a good thing. And it wasn't like a stalky type thing. He was trying to get my mindset back to where it should be, because he's seen something in me I didn't see in myself, which is self-worth. I'm very intelligent. Okay, I can go through school in a week from a 6-week course. I can write 95 books in a span of just a couple years. I can create a business that's pulling in clients because I actually have a sales team now that a year ago I didn't have. He's seen something in me, but I had to see it for myself, which is when was the pinnacle moment of, hey, I have to take my own advice to move forward. Because I'm not going to stay in this 1-bedroom apartment or where I'm at with grandma, mom, my daughter, going crazy, going gray, and just living off the system when I know I'm destined to be more. I wouldn't have been able to go to Jim Lute's if I would have said, I'm destined to do this. My destiny is to help people. Well, I can't help people if I'm not helping myself first.
So you'd say that one thing would be literally like identifying and saying, I had to find my destiny.
Yeah.
And just say, this is what I am here for. This is my purpose.
Well, I set a goal, and I still have this goal. I won't move it for anything. I will not get married until my company is when it has an office in the factory in Reno, Nevada. I have my office. I'm halfway there. I told him I will not get married until we do this.
Okay. So it's about setting a deadline,
Mm-hmm.
or a, I shouldn't say a deadline, a benchmark.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know in my life I've done that a lot. In
Mm-hmm.
fact, something I shared with you recently was a resource that I use daily,
Mm-hmm.
and part of that process is I actually state what my goal is. I have
Mm-hmm.
10 life goals, and every morning I go through those 10 life goals, but I never refer to yesterday. I go to sleep on them. I get up in the morning and then I actually write out what are my 10 life goals. And I write it out. So, as an example, I am so happy and grateful, feeling fulfilled that I now have an additional $50,000 of passive income by November 15th. And so, what it does in the mind is we start with gratitude instead of
Mm-hmm.
lack. We
Mm-hmm.
state the goal, we decide what is going to happen, and we accept it as already accomplished. And then
Mm-hmm.
we set that manifestation date. That's that benchmark. And
Mm-hmm.
what I've found is sometimes daily, sometimes weekly, sometimes month, those goals will shift based on where we've progressed because as we grow, things change. But there's
Mm-hmm.
benchmarks that I have to hit before I can do something else.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm a creator. Like, I create things all the time. But I always say I have to prove this works or doesn't work before I create something else. Otherwise, I'll just sit around and create stuff all day long. So finding those benchmarks, that's one of those areas where we sync up really well is setting those things and saying this is a standard, this is a must in my life. Because when things must happen,
Mm-hmm.
there's no option. It's a decision.
Exactly.
You cut off everything else. This is what's going to happen. And if this doesn't happen, then nothing else is either.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I love that approach. It's not burning the bridges, it's just removing any side streets.
Right. I mean, I'm halfway there. We got the office on Kenzie in Reno, and I have pictures up online. If you anyone that wants to follow me wants to see, you have to only get an appointment to see me because I'm never there. Yeah. I have an office that's beautiful, and guess what? The one person that actually works there, where it's just me, is never there. But it's okay. I have an office that's halfway there. I have a sales team that would love to talk to you about marketing, advertising, Lexicon Academy. They would love to talk to you because it's all about empowering you.
Hmm.
My goal, my people that I work with for advertising is small businesses, it's coaches, it's authors that, a personal brand. It's I'll work with Coca-Cola. I have worked with Mr. Larry Thornton on Dove and Dragon Radio, but that's not the corporate people that I work with.
Hmm.
I'm sorry, I'm in a public space today, so it's a little.
Yeah, I'm leaning in, which is funny. I'm leaning in with the
Yeah,
earpiece in so I can hear you better.
this is what happens when you travel. You
Yeah.
know, you don't get a quiet little place here everything. You go, okay, I'm having a podcast in 0 dark 30. I'm going to be here, and it's going to be great.
Yep. And that's what I love about travel though, is because everybody else gets put on notice that their life is about to become an adventure because they're connected with you and you're having an adventure.
Exactly. I'm telling all my people that follow me, I'm doing 4 cities in 2 days, and then I'm back to Ohio because I have to get grandma's situated because we're going through her health stuff right now. I'm like, I don't want to be in Ohio, but grandma's more important.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, priorities. With what you've accomplished,
Hmm.
you've taken a life that seemed stable and fine, I mean, every life has its ups and downs and trials
Mhm.
and hardships. I mean, that's just life.
Yep.
But every once in a while, we're gifted
Hmm.
with a situation that challenges us beyond what most people experience. Both of us, both yourself and myself, we have daughters that have additional needs,
Hmm.
but that's just life to us. It's just part of today. You know,
Yeah.
it's our life. But you had a couple curveballs that took that. This is what I've got. Now everything went to chaos,
Hmm.
and then you decided that you were going to do something, and then it seemed to go even more chaos,
Hmm.
like because of your approach. What was the shift point where all of a sudden the chaos was given structure and order again?
I started working with a mentor.
Okay.
If I didn't have my mentor Antonio T. Smith, my chaos would have stayed chaos. And he's been working with me off and on since 2017. Well, in 2022, I reached out to him and I started working with him almost on a daily basis.
Mm.
No, his coaching takes like $100,000. You do like 36. He's like 100,000 to work with him for a month.
Yep.
And I'm working with him on a daily basis. I'm in his first circle that you have to pay to get in. You can't even join his first circle unless you pay him. This is the kind of coach he is because he's very strategic with his time.
Yep.
And you understand that. You have to be very, very strategic with your time when you're a coach because it's so easy to get sucked in and lose track of everything else and throw chaos into your garden that you're creating. But he's working with me, been working with me, and it was okay. Here's my book. You publish it. You have a publishing house. Here's a book. Well, I have 12 of his books, I think, now that I published. I published his wife's and his entire network. As a publisher, to have the credibility when someone says she's my publisher, you publish to her, that's massive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Especially when it's a 7-figure person teaching other people to get 7 figures and you go here. This is where you want your fee. So that was my turning point is working with him.
Now, was part of that a switch that went off in you for your personal credibility to be like, wow, because like you said earlier, we're smart people.
Mhm.
There's no question about it. But it doesn't mean we always identify the value of of who we are.
Mhm.
Sometimes we get stuck. When he said, "Hey, I'm publishing with you. I want you to publish more of my books," was there a trigger inside of you to be like, you know what? I'm not just somebody that publishes books. I'm publishing books for people who know what they're doing in life.
That was a turning point. At first, I thought it was felt like because I wasn't in my proper headspace yet. It
Mm-hmm.
felt like it was a friend giving me a bone to chew on. You know,
Yeah. Okay.
okay, and it took him bringing me a couple authors before and he didn't do it strategically. He just said on a morning call with everyone, she's publishing my books. We're gonna switch over here. I don't know what he did in the backside.
Mm-hmm.
And he gave me like 12 authors overnight. So it was no more a little bone to chew on. Now I'm like, oh my goodness, he's actually seeing value in what I do.
Yeah. So it wasn't a friend who was publishing with you to help you out. Who was
Mhm.
saying, "Hey, yeah, he actually values the work that I do enough to entrust his network with me."
Yeah. And that's huge.
Yeah.
I mean, I have complete access to his network, but I'm bad at networking, which was why I'm down here with Daniel.
Right.
Like, I have to learn how to do that because I am afraid of stepping on toes, and that's one thing I don't want to do, especially with someone I look up to and value.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're learning how to network properly, so it's all good. But at the same time, I'm also on his advisors. He gave me this big long job title yesterday, so I'm like, oh, my job is to basically report to him and think of things to create.
Yeah, there you go.
That's all I have to do is think of things that need to be created, and I don't have to do the work.
That is the place for creatives to be.
Yes.
You know, I tell people time and time again, stick to where your gift is,
Hmm.
and then hire people whose gift is doing the things you don't have a gift for.
Hmm.
Because like I said, myself, I'm a creative and
Hmm.
I'm a communicator.
Hmm.
I don't geek out sitting there, this graphic has to be exactly this way. I sit
Hmm.
down, I pump out the creative of what I really like, and if I want that put out, I say, now, where's the expert that's going to make that fine tuned for me?
Yeah.
Because I will do it. I will make it fine tuned. I will make it perfect, and I will get it done sometime in this decade. And all of my time is gone.
Hmm. I started with the company. I now hire graphic designers to do the book covers.
Hmm.
I used to do all of them by hand. I don't do that no more. I don't have to. Thank you. Thankfully to Antonio. Thank you. Um, but I don't do that. The formatting I will still do because that takes personal touch, and I haven't found someone that does it the way I want it done.
Hmm.
And that's just me being picky. But there's things that I'm doing. I'm starting to hire people to do it.
Hmm.
So I'm getting more time for myself. So I have another 20 books coming up this year.
And that takes a little bit of time.
Yeah.
Um, so as we're moving forward here, there's a couple
Hmm.
things I want my audience to know,
Hmm.
specifically because you work with publishing.
Hmm.
What was the thing that actually held you back from really going all in and getting the book published? I know Spite says I'm doing it because you said I can't, and trust me, I am all in with you on that. That's
Okay. So the first thing was working with Vanity Press, working with indie publishing, and then finding a publisher. That's three different routes. I went through all of them. One, never work with a vanity press that says you have to pay for publishing. Please don't do that. You're wasting your money because marketing is not guaranteed. They will give you marketing. It does not guarantee book sales.
okay.
Okay? That's one. Don't ever work with vanity. I don't care who they are. I don't care how many books they say they publish. Don't do it. Then I went to the indie route, which was good. But you go to one indie company, you have to pay for it. If you don't understand formatting, book covers, and stuff like this, yeah, you want to do that. Okay. But at the same time, I didn't have the money to do that.
Hmm.
So you go over to Amazon. Do you know Amazon only publishes to Amazon and like two other bookstores? So you're only getting like this much of your market and you get nothing out really. And then you
Yep.
have to pay Amazon royalties. Then you have to pay for ads. Then you have to pay to get on their list. And money, 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 money. Right?
Hmm.
Okay. So then I went to the publisher. I started small press because if you go to Penguin, Rock, all those big companies, you have to have a following. You have to have like 1 million people following you. You have to have 100,000 book sales or more per book title. I don't have this, so I can't get an agent. I can't even send them a query letter because I'm going to get rejected.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay. So I started with the small publishing. Didn't cost me anything. They keeping 50% of my royalties. The first publisher I went to, they closed. Never seen a dime. Would you believe my book, my very first book, was #1 in France, and I never seen a dime of that.
Wow.
Um, it's still sold in Barnes and Nobles. I can go to the one bookstore and Ohio, it's still on the shelf. My original cover is still on the shelf that's been out of print since 2016.
Wow.
My second publisher, I started working as a director of marketing after going back to school for marketing. This is one of those things, I don't know how to do it. I'm going to get a certification in it. I don't care about the certificate, but I want to learn how to do it. Became the director. Guess what? They didn't want to listen to anything I said, which why I opened my first publishing house. Actually know what I'm
Mhm.
doing with marketing. Now we added the marketing aspect to my publishing house. Not free, because marketing actually costs money. You have to pay for ads, you have to pay for design. Publishing is free. Formatting should be free. Cover
Mhm.
design may or may not, depending on your publisher. Your marketing will never be free. If you want to line edit your book, that will never be free because you actually have to pay a good editor.
Yep.
Please do your research on what they offer for editing. If you're like me and go, I want my book in 9 different languages, you better have a publisher that A will allow that and B can do it. Mine does. You are very slow because as of right now, I'm the only translator that handwrites the books. And if you don't know anything from translating from one language to another, it's very tedious. It's time consuming. And I have over 300 titles. It's not going to be done today.
Right.
But that's where we're at with the publishing.
All right. What's one of the things that you've seen that are actually holding other people back from actually putting out that first book? I know for myself, this is where I was stuck is
Okay.
I just didn't believe it anybody else wanted to read what I had. Like I knew it was good stuff. I mean, this was life changing things in my life, but who
Mm-hmm.
wants to read what I write?
Okay, so first thing is getting over your self doubt. As a mindset coach, I can help you, but that's going to cost you money. Okay, I charge $3,600 a month for mindset coaching. Like, I'm relatively easy to work with, but I will fire my clients. I've done it in the past. That's the first thing, is getting over that first hurdle. Second hurdle is you don't know where to start. You don't know who to trust. Can I do it myself? Oh, okay, it looks easy on KDP. It looks easy on this format. I don't know what I'm doing. No one's going to lead it anywheres. I'm spending money on marketing, but I don't know what marketing is. So it's
Mhm.
no return. I don't. Okay, so one, you have to get over the hurdle. Next thing, you have to work with someone. Don't do it alone.
Mhm.
That's the big thing. You can do indie. I've done indie. Didn't see a return on anything. Trust me. There's some indie authors that have gone USA Today bestseller. It all depends on one, how you carry yourself, what you're doing to present yourself. If you go in on Facebook and airing out your dirty laundry, and then trying to promote a book on positivity, guess what? I don't think your book's going to sell at all. Just saying. You put out negative here and you have a book here, it doesn't coexist, so you're not going to sell. People look at this stuff. Next thing is your name relevant? What are you doing to promote yourself and your mindset? If you're not promoting the mindset and you have this woe is me storyline, you're never going to publish.
Mhm.
Another thing you have to get over. After that is all about knowing that your tax laws. You kind of need to know this because now you're a small business. Like it or not, an author is a small business, and if you don't understand taxes for small businesses, you're going to fail.
Yep. Okay.
That's basically it.
Okay. Let's see. We've got one question here. Melissa or Marshall, Sarah Marshall asks, "Is it safe to put my personal story out there?"
Well, it depends. Do you want your story seen by everyone? Okay, that's one. That's a personal thing. You can do it as a fictional story, or you can do it as change the names and the places, still be the actual your personal story,
Hmm.
or you can change just your name, give first names, different last names. But if your story is like mine with abuse, I have 12 books out on abuse, 12 different types of abuse, from financial abuse to verbal abuse to physical abuse. Each book is different. There's my stories, but then I also have my client stories in there to reiterate some points. And I change their names. I get their permission, but I put their stories out there.
Hmm.
So it's a personal thing that you have to struggle with. Do I want it out there? Me, I got ticked off in 2021. Something happened, and I said, you know what? I'm going to put all this pen up everything, and I'm going to do some good with it. It's no longer serving me, so I'm going to use it for good.
Awesome. Okay. Because I know that's one thing that I've heard other people say is like, well, what if I put it out there and then my mom reads it, or something like that. I'm like, well, don't hide things from your mom. Be a good child. you know.
My mom has read all 95 of my books. I have made her read them, a chapter at a time. Good, the bad, the ugly. I have used from the only two books I have yet to release on the abuse series is the child abuse, because even though I'm over 20, I'm not ready to put that out there, but at the same time, and it needs to be out there. I'm just not ready to unpack that until I get home. But yes, putting your personal story out there and still being anonymous is completely okay.
That's awesome. Yeah, because there's so many people, and I hear them every day because I talk to. It feels like hundreds of people every day, but it's not quite that bad. But I
Mhm.
just talk to people constantly, and I'm always hearing it, and I'm like, man, you need to tell people your story. And it's
Mhm.
not because I teach people how to speak from the stage. It's because it's a really impactful story that would help people. And I'm always hearing yeah, well, I feel uncomfortable sharing it. And I always wonder is like, are you uncomfortable sharing it, or are you uncomfortable with people knowing it?
Mhm. My
So to do the pen name thing, like, gives them that ability to go ahead and share that story, share what's inside them with the world, so that the world can benefit and still maintain that safety internally of just
my
feeling confident.
the reason why I put my abuse books out there, it was in 2020. I think it was 2020 or 2021. I was asked to speak as a abuse survivor, as domestic abuse survivor,
Hmm.
and I'm like, I'm not a survivor. I'm a, I am not a victim, but I'm not a survivor. I had a champion, or I had it worded as something because, yeah, I survived it. I'm a victor. And one of
Yeah.
my friends, you know, I was going through this. Well, after I did that speech, and it was so hard to put my story out there, and this was the first time of me ever opening up about it, I said, you know what? It's time to put it down on paper. And then I started asking my clients if I could take their stories, change their names, keep everything else factual, and put it
Hmm.
in there. And they said, as long as my name's not in there, yeah, okay, that's fine. It took me another 2 years to actually publish the books, and these are short books. And I have people coming when they buy it is, oh my God, I didn't realize I was a victim of verbal abuse from my mother.
Mm,
I
okay.
didn't, and they're older, they're like 60, 70 years old reading these books. I mean, some people come to me, I'm like, I'm not a guru. I just put my story out there. If it's helping you, please do this. I have people contacting me. Who do I go to for this? Well, okay, well, here's resources. I don't know where you're at exactly unless you want to talk about it.
Right. And just creating those doorways, those connection points
Mhm.
between ourselves and outside of ourselves,
Mhm.
whether it be a simple conversation, whether it be like we're doing now, a live on social media, or putting out a book.
Mhm.
Like it's a two-way street. It's not
Mhm.
just I realized it wasn't just me writing a book. It was me opening up a conversation with hundreds of thousands of people that I'll never talk to and sharing with them the most intimate things that transformed my life. And
Exactly.
I'm like, what a powerful leverage tool of a book. It's not just about how can I leverage and build authority or build my brand. All of those are great, but if that's the only purpose of your book, you're missing the boat.
Hmm.
Like think of the lives that you can actually make better by
Do you?
sharing your
Yes.
story, your knowledge, your insights that you've learned. And I really want to encourage everybody, they need to be putting a book out. Even if it's just so that they can say, I put out what I
Something.
was created to put out.
Yep.
Because if our whole existence is to live our life quietly in our own little room, that's really not a purpose for life.
Correct. I mean, the first time someone came up to me and hugged me because I read my book, heard my story, and said, "You just saved my life," that's profound.
Yeah. And it makes it worth it all.
Hmm.
One conversation, one hug, one one person at the gas station, you're standing in line paying for your gas, and the guy behind you goes, hey, I read your book, dude. And he's smiling.
Hmm.
That was so cool. Because I turned around, I was looked at him, and I was so tired. I looked at him, I was like, cool. That was that was my big author moment right there. I was like, cool. And I turned around, paid for my gas, and left. But then I sat down in the truck and I was like, did that just happen?
Uh-huh.
That just happened. And then I was just all giddy all day long, right? And it was like right after I had published, intentionally published my second book. Um, First one was accidental, but
There's no accidentally involved. You did it on purpose. You just didn't realize what you were doing.
no, I didn't. I accidentally submitted it. I was
Okay, okay,
I
okay.
I know. I knew absolutely nothing about publishing. I didn't know there was a difference between a publishing house and self-publishing. Heck, I didn't even know self-publishing existed. The only thing I knew was that you're going to get rejected 300 times before anybody takes a look.
Hmm.
So I was totally safe, but I'm one of these people that jump in and say, if you want to understand something, you do the thing to learn the process. I had
Uh-huh.
no intention of publishing anything. Literally had no intention because I walked through the whole process online, submitting manuscript, did the formatting and the graphics and the book cover and just learning the process because I'm
Hmm.
a curious learner. And I did not realize that I actually hit the submit button when I was closing everything down. All of a sudden, one day, I get a notification with this book in the mail that says your proof copy has been mailed. And I'm like, my what? My what? My proof? What's a proof copy? I had no idea what a proof copy was till it showed up, and I realized that's my book. That wasn't supposed to happen because what did I do? I didn't write a book. I compiled a lot of the stories that I had written from the time that I was traveling and
Hmm.
doing my walking,
Hmm.
and I just a lot of personal writings and inspirations and visions and insights and thoughts, and I just compiled it into a short story style book. But it was never supposed to go anywhere. It was certainly not supposed to leave my hard drive. First person to ever read that, uh, before I even read it, is my wife in the other room. And because she read it, she's my wife in the other room. And it was an accidental thing. Like,
Uh-huh.
you can accidentally publish a book. Uh, and it's been read by thousands upon thousands of people now over the years. and I've never had any negative criticism come back from anybody except one person. One person was brutal. His name was Chad Nedland. Tears it
Yeah.
apart every time he looks at it. Still
I
have
I
that
had
first proof copy too.
people can be very brutal with your work. Like my first book, which is a very massive series now. Not all of them are released yet, but some of them are. If you actually read the book and you actually are good with grammar, spelling, punctuation, other things that authors are known for, you're going to hate the book. You know why? Because I did that intentionally. And I put a letter in the front of the book. All the spelling, the grammar, everything is done intentionally for a reason. And it improves throughout the series, and you find out in the last book why everything was wrote like that. And I'm not going to give it away because I haven't released that book yet. But I get so much negativity that it's even in there. I'm like, did you read the first page?
Right. People are so stuck on trying to find something wrong, they miss the value of why it is there.
Yep.
My business partner, she was like notorious. She's like, "Oh, I was looking at your website and I saw this," and I'm like, "Yeah, I know." She goes, "What do you mean you know?" I said, "Put it there." She goes, "Well, but the words are spelled wrong." I says, "I know." And then she got to spend more and more time with me. She was my first $16,000 client. She's now a business partner. But she started realizing, she's like, "My gosh," she says, "you write the way that you write. The way everything is so intentional." She says, "Because you write to be relatable to the people reading it, instead of positioning yourself as someone that's outside of where they can go." And I'm like, "Yeah, communicate with people on a level that connects. Period. It's
Exactly.
all intentional."
Do you know in America, most people don't read above a fifth grade level?
Yep.
So why am I going to
Did you know
write?
that every single manual in the military is written on a sixth grade education?
Mhm.
Think about that, folks. The men and women that have been out there protecting you and serving and willing to die for you, they're assumed that they're no smarter than a sixth grader.
Well, my grandfather proved that right, but
Yeah.
he dropped out of school at sixth grade. But back in 1940s, that was normal. 30s, 40s. But we have to re-educate our children because we're not sixth graders. But at the same time, why am I going to write a book that a Harvard educated person that reads at the fifth grade level can't even understand?
Yeah. I mean, when I look and I do writing, and now I
Mhm.
do a lot of writing. There's two things that I hate doing: writing and reading. There's two things I do a lot of: writing and reading. Because those are what make me a better speaker, a better communicator, a better human being.
Mhm.
Is doing those things consistently. And there's things like, Grammarly, there's some other software that will literally say, this is the writing level that you just wrote that in. And it's amazing when I'll sit there and be like, rip it out, and they're like, this is college level writing. And I'm like, well, nobody's going to understand that. And then I got to go back and rewrite what I wrote to simplify the terms, the meaning, the structure, to where it's just relaxed so anybody can read it. Now, the difference, do you know how much more they're going to get from information out of your book
Mhm.
if they don't have to try and understand it?
Why do you think I made my snarky book? Like, I made it for a fifth grade education that's snarky as all get out, and it's 100% accurate about the Constitution because no one can understand the Constitution, even our politicians.
Well, I don't know if they can't understand it. I'm pretty sure they've never read it.
And I, like I said before, I don't care which side of the aisle you're taking. I'm pretty sure they haven't read anything.
Yeah, it's just the things that are getting put out there. I think they all need to go do a little bit more reading.
Yeah.
So everybody that is watching right now, I encourage you to do one thing: go out there, write a book,
Mhm.
save up a little bit of money, buy about 400 copies, and send one to every person in the House of Representatives.
Yes.
And when they
That's
get, you know what, they're going to have to move out of their mansion because they're going to have too many books in it. just just 10% of our nation, everybody just went out and wrote a book this year. Have Melissa publish your book, and just send them a free copy.
Yeah, I tell you the price for printing and the shipping and where to send it to DC. I would love to have a couple of truckloads of books from my authors go to DC for each individual there.
That would be, wouldn't that be great? You know, that should be one of your higher level packaging. Be
Mhm.
like, we do have the governmental infrastructure challenge program. Uh, we will help you write, publish. We will even ghostwrite your first 5 books for you and send a copy of each book to every single person in the government in the White House.
You know, we do have the wealth builder class, and you get 3 ghostwritten books already.
Okay.
Okay, so you already get 3 ghostwritten books. If you want to pay for the shipping and printing other books, I will send them directly to DC for you.
There we go. We don't even have to handle that. Just let you take care of all of it.
Yeah, we already have part of the package, you
Yeah.
know, and you can get a hold of Chad or just mention Chad referred you, and we'll
Maybe I'll
work something out.
maybe I'll get a free shirt out of it.
Yeah, like the one you're
By the
wearing.
way, this is one she sent me.
Yeah.
Empower your wallet, rule your reality. Dive deep into financial mastery for personal and business success. Embark. I don't want to pull it up too high. Embark on your learning journey today.
There you go.
And that's I'd stand up, but I'm so comfortable right now. But yeah, that right there, if you could tell, actually, you know what? I want everybody to just actually just go over to Trient Press and check her out there. But I love to ask everybody this simple question, and it'll tell me a lot about you, and it'll tell your listeners here today a lot about you if they pay attention.
Hmm.
If you could go back to the beginning of time
Hmm.
and you could choose anyone to sit down and have a meal with, what would you cook and where would you eat it?
What would I cook? So I have this recipe that I created. I call it bruschetta chicken. So it's stuffed chicken with tomatoes, spinach, onions, and a chicken thigh is glazed and it has a lot of seasonings to it. It's really good. It comes with this plum glaze with cherries and wine. Then I paired that with Alfredo because it just great pair. Now, where would I have it? I'd have to say at my kitchen table.
Okay.
Very simple. The kitchen table is a hearth of the home, and everything can be subtle right there. And so many discussions that need to happen actually happen there.
At the table. Yep.
You can't have those discussions on a couch sitting. You can, they're not as meaningful and you don't remember them. But you remember sitting at a table having the conversation.
Yeah. There's power in a meal. I
Hmm.
always tell people the most powerful tool in my arsenal over the years has been
Hmm.
breaking bread with another person. Sit down and have a meal with them.
Hmm.
There is nothing more intimate than throwing everything aside and stuffing food in your face, and just doing life consuming what's real, what's raw, what's necessary, and just opening up over a meal is probably one of the greatest ways that we can share ourselves with the world.
Very true.
Um, so what's one message that you have for the people listening, and what do you want them personally? What do you want them to do next?
Examine your life, and whatever you think you can't, know that you can. Just
Beautiful.
just start there.
Awesome. So I want to say thank you so much for just coming in and sharing with the community today. Just a shout out to our live listeners. Thank you for coming in and joining us. You guys have an amazing day. Remember that there is beauty, there is grace, and there is greatness within each one of you. Now go unleash that in the world today with a book.